Peace. What's the deal? Yep. Yeah, I'm gonna just get back into what I was talking about. Yeah, I ran out of time. I ran out of space on my phone yesterday. Plus, I got tired. Ate some food and got tired. Um, I was talking about on the video that I posted. Even about people being, let's say people who have come to, uh, let's say, what is it called, the United States of America, right? And they come from other places. When, if and when they commit crimes, you know, they can actually be deported. They go back to where they came from. So one of the ways that you can definitely figure out if you one of the owners of the land, well, first I said, if you got a colored mother or grandmother, she can especially speak for people. I speak for people first. That's in my age bracket, people in their 40s and their 50s. All of us have parents that was born in their 30s, in the 30s or the 40s. My parents was born in the 40s. And my grandparents was born in the 20s. So if you got a colored mother, father, grandmother, then you basically the people that was reclassified and denationalized into being colored, black, uh, even Indian. Indian, that's a political status too. People don't know. They just like it better. You got people that like it better than they like it better than being African American or whatever else. But still, you shouldn't even be saying that, the Indian stuff. But that's just the truth. But yeah, people that have colored, Negro, Indian grandparents and parents, then you are more than likely one of the people who this land truly belonged to. And you know, uh, these are the differences in the people, and we shouldn't have a problem, and we shouldn't feel bad about it. We shouldn't feel bad about it because that's just like even talking about let's other groups of people being under servitude and all that different stuff. Man, there was a guy who jumped on the video and said, "Oh, that's racist. You're being racist." Wow, that's not being racist. Educating people on the reality of what went on in the past. That's not that had nothing to do with race, with being racist. Plus, you know what I mean. You got like I said, people that's vibing on a high vibe is not gonna have no problem with that. You know what I'm saying? Because the truth is the truth, no matter what. And then like you got people, and then if you got people that want to act like they really this or they that from other groups of people, have went years and years and years being okay with you believing that you was a slave or that your grandparents were slaves or that y'all come up like that or they cool with that. So why can't I don't understand why people have a problem like making people know who they are or whatever or their situation and not being cool with and being cool with that. Like I don't want you to think that you are something that you're not. If you know what I'm saying, if you come from that, or if that's what the reality, that's reality. That don't lower your status in my eyes as a person, or as a as a being. Because even person, I don't even like calling myself a person or calling people persons because person legally that word person persons has a legal meaning. You know what I'm saying? So you know what I mean? It's all this stuff sound crazy, but when you really are illiterate, which most of us are, meaning we don't understand the words that we're using, and the spells that we casting with these words on our own selves, it's always gonna sound weird for somebody to say something like that. To not call yourself a person. Yeah, that sounds crazy. But investigate, go into like a Black's Law Dictionary and well, even Google it, whatever. Do what you gotta do to find out what a person is, what a person is legally, the legal definition of it. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but um, if you own a house and because you inherited a house from your grandparents, but you don't know that you have this house or you inherited this wealth or something, or land or whatever, and somebody's living in your house, and Not on everybody not everybody don't know that they pretending to be you because it's like I said, everybody that's under the system has been brainwashed in some form or fashion. So you got people that's been everybody's been brainwashed to think that they're something other than what they are. You know, and some of us are what we believe ourselves to be. You know what I mean? So don't get it wrong. Don't get it all the way wrong or twisted. But you know, it's a thing like that. It's the bottom line. Like, you know what I mean? Even let's say when I was in a negative state of mind and I thought certain things about myself, or well, not thought, but just based on what I thought I knew, I you know, so that's what made me so as a when I was a young boy, like I just used to be very rebellious. I was a very rebellious young kid at one time. You know what I mean? Because I didn't want to accept certain things. I just didn't want to accept it. This is what made me just go against a lot of so-called guidance at the time. But had I not went against that guidance, I wouldn't even been able to meet up with the people that was giving me other ideas, not just let's say the street stuff, but just you know, I kind of got I did get religion, like I got Islam from people that you would consider to be like criminals, like street people. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. And it actually straightened my life up. You know what I mean? Got me on a course, at least for me to go into other things, better things, and in a better state of mind. Because I always looked at mainstream stuff like, because I was kind of like raised in the house of Jehovah's being, you know, a Jehovah's Witness. So I was really almost, when I was a kid, I was primed to go into what I went into, because we never celebrated no holidays, you know, because Jehovah's Witnesses are a very strict, disciplined group. So just the way I literally grew up, we had like maybe some little teeny bit of church affiliation because of my grandmother was churchy, but I just never ever really kind of like never desired to be with that, because I always looked at it like it wasn't right. It was just something, not that it wasn't, you know, meaning, because I looked at it like the people that was doing wrong towards my people were saying that they was Christians. Or you had people that, you know, they were Jehovah's Witnesses too. So I was like, well, I don't understand it. So when I came into Islam, you know, I was kind of green, and I was green-minded, thinking that, you know, all Muslims is good and love each other and all that. So I had to grow up inside of Islam too to realize that it's a lot of racism and bias mentalities inside of with the peoples of Islam, if you want to call them that. You know, I know a lot of very, very racist, you know, so-called Arab people. You know what I mean? Very racist. Very, very. You know what I mean? And I know very, very biased so-called African people. But they always knew not to mess with me like that. You know what I'm saying? Because I always knew who I was. You know what I mean? Even on a low level, I knew who I was. And I knew you know, my father, my grandfathers was soldiers, you know what I mean? I got a grandfather who was a pro fighter. I don't come from weak people, so like y'all, you ain't gonna just talk no shit. You know what I mean? So they knew how to play with me, but it would be little things going on that they would talk about, things of that nature. But I'm just saying, trying to get back on the point. You know, getting into knowing who you are. You know what I mean? So that you can walk on this plane in an honorable and respectful way. We're not taking nothing away from nobody to get back what's ours. And just like even in the law, there's certain laws where as though if a person, if it's some property that's found or available and don't nobody come claim it, okay, the person that found it can just claim it and say it and it's theirs. So if you don't claim your identity, you run around saying all this other stuff, you calling yourself a color that isn't associated with a nation and stuff like that, then someone else takes control of your title and your inheritance, your land, even the stuff that's in the books and in the paperwork as the people. A lot of people, they don't even know that we the people, we are the people. But they convinced you that you came from, that they brought you here from somewhere else. Then just look, I want you to think about a few things. Go on, like online and look at what it takes to come across the Atlantic Ocean in a boat. And in this day and time, in a big metal Navy war boat. And how, look at how the difficulty of it, you know what I'm saying, of it. And then imagine doing that on a wooden boat. You know what I'm saying? Transporting. Okay, you got one of those wooden boats, and you got a cargo of, let's say you got 30 people down there. That's a lot of people to have in a boat. 30 people, 40 people, right? 30, 40 people that have to eat. They have to be exercised, moved around. They have to use the lavatory multiple times throughout the day. All these different things coming across this water. And if you use your common sense, you'll realize that stuff can't even happen. You can't even have the, how they got the picture. The picture is just to affect your brain in a certain way. All the people laid up on the slave ship. We used to make jokes like, man, we packed on the bus like the slave ship. Yeah, okay. You might be on something like that for a real short amount of time, but you ain't going. And they even tell you that the Middle Passage took 2, 3, 4 months. You think people gonna be able to lay up in the belly of a boat for that amount of time? Okay, the boats, how big were they? They weren't that big, right? Okay, so if you got 30, 40 people in the hull in the boat, you got a crew, because the crew got the people. They got to control the people. Then you got to have provisions. You got to have water. You got to have food stored for these passengers, for these so-called Slavs, right? So how that's gonna work? It can't work because it's not real. The people was already here. If the people that you think is that was so-called slaves, people was already here. Why you gonna spend all that money going to Africa and transporting these people from Africa all the way over to America, and the land is, you got plenty of people here already here. Every part of the earth has the original people of these lands is melanated people, whether you like it or not. You know what I'm saying? The first people of every landmass, whether it's Australia, whether it's what they call Asia, India is Asia. You know what I mean? Europe, Africa, what they call Africa now. You know what I mean? America. It was always melanated people here, right? Okay. Nobody not saying that. And then you got to think. And then even the so-called lighter, paler skinned people who were here in different times are not the same people. They are not necessarily the same people that you're seeing now, and walking around on TV or whatever, are not necessarily the same people. Now the melanated people that you're seeing are connected to the people, because these people never got brought here from nowhere. You got a lot of so-called European people that they in their story. Okay, my grandpa came from Ireland. They came from somewhere, so they didn't originate. They always came from somewhere. They came from Italy. They came from they came from somewhere, right? So you can trace them back to whenever they came, somewhere in the 1800s or up into early 1900s, with all the Ellis Island type stuff. Mostly everybody that's melanated can always go back. At least can go back to what they call slavery. You know what I mean? And down south and all that stuff, right? But I'm just saying, we go back. Come on, man. I'm just saying, read in between the lines. You can, and then all of a sudden, all you people, we lost all. Man, it's records on everything, man. It's records on transporting all goods, whether it's people, whether it's food, any kind of commodity. It's records on all that stuff. It's records on companies doing. That's like I said. Was talking about these buildings. They don't never have no information on the companies that built these buildings, and they might have a name, architect or something. All of that stuff, man. Because we're not using common sense. We don't have common sense. Common sense ain't so common because you're not taught to have common sense. When you taught to accept you're being told or do as you're told. That's it. You're not taught to be free. You're taught to follow instructions, to follow orders. You know what I mean? This is all the stuff of it's a lot of brainwashing. Go through school. You know what I mean? You go to 12th grade. If then maybe you go at we fought for the right to be able to go to college and all that different stuff, man. We established, all them schools was originally established by melanated people. It was taken over by, that's another story. But I'm just saying, getting back to what I'm talking about now, you gotta know who you are. If you don't know who you are, I wanted to just say something like, you're in the way, right? But yeah, you is in the way. You know what I mean? Because you're in the way of people that know who they are and they trying to make stuff happen, and you still talking about being black, or you still talking about voting, all that different stuff. People still talking about that. Man, that's a whole, man, what people still talking about that, man? That stuff is not even real. That's just a distraction. Then people say, oh, these niggas be talking about distractions now. All right. Distractions. Like, you going now, you got to be careful about who is set up as they know how to create heroes too for groups of people, whether you so-called white or you so-called black. They know how to create heroes through the media, through different stuff. So all of a sudden you looking at such and such, because man, you gotta dissect everything. A lot of times, if the real people that's putting in the work and was being real towards and for the people, you don't know them. You know why? Because you ain't supposed to know about them. You know about somebody who cut some type of deal to be put in the limelight. So I'm just saying. So be careful who you taking as a so-called hero or someone who you think is really, really, really for the people, whether it be me or anybody else. It don't matter. Well, I do care what people think of me. What I'm saying is, be aware of how this machine feeds you things, whether it be people and their words and their actions. Let's say I'm sitting here in front of here and this flag and something, but it's stuff all around here in this room that I'm sitting in that is not seen. It could be positive, it could be negative. You understand what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, the same thing goes for what you do when you turn on the TV, or you know what I mean, looking on the internet and you looking at what's being displayed to you. Is that real? Even if you see a nice, maybe if you see a nice looking woman or a nice looking man, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you don't know how that person really is. You don't know if that person. You don't know if that person, seriously, sometimes you might see a good looking person on the television or on this internet, whatever, right? They could be good looking, but do you know, like, really how they really are? You can't smell them through the screen, so you don't even know this person could be looking good and smelling bad, but you don't know that. So it's the same way they feed you certain things. Be careful of all of that, but know who you are. If you know who you are, that's a good start. That's the most excellent start. That's the best foundation for that's a basic fundamental for life that we have not been taught. Not just melanated people. Pale skinned people also have been duped and dumbed out and all of that. You know what I'm saying? Even if you go back 100 years or 100 years, 120 years, the non-melanated people from back then was way different than the people, and they wasn't exactly what you think they was in this time. You thinking that because they Hollywood and all that. Them people knew what time was. Them people wasn't even speaking. Them people was forced to speak English too when they got over here. And some of them people was forced to say that they came from places where they really didn't come from. Plenty of so-called, these pale-skinned people got stories about their grandparents that used to want to speak their language, and they'd be like, I'm telling you, it's not just something that's just that it's a, totem pole type thing. And the true owners are on the bottom, of course. The true owners is on the bottom because we don't want the people the owners to get back to the point where as though they going back down City Hall to claim their land, to claim their stuff. You ain't got to go through all that. If you know who you are and you establish And certain things, this stuff was set up for us anyway. But if you don't know about that, or you thinking you somebody else, or you thinking you going to scream and holler and march on stuff, man, they laugh at that stuff because it's dumb. But that's all a part of that's all part of the, you know what I mean? That's just what it is, man. This is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Not what, like, when I'm saying, it's just I don't know, it's just how I just express that. But what I'm saying is, you gotta learn. If you ain't learning, and the stuff that I put up is to activate people to start thinking about stuff. You know what I mean? So we can change things with, through our minds. Because can't even get into no deeper stuff than that if people won't even think about their own personal self first. You know what I mean? And then we can start thinking about, change your mindset. Like, change your mindset though. You know what I'm saying? Because anything you want to do, you gotta have the right state of mind. You know what I mean? Knowing yourself is the best thing that you could do in your life. And know yourself. Know yourself. Know that you can do anything you want to do if you got the right mindset. Belief. If you want to believe in something, believe in yourself. Believe in your mother and your father because you know them and you see them. Believe in your children. Believe in, believe in that. Know yourself, though. You know what I'm saying? You ain't gonna go wrong. You know what I mean? If it ain't happened, if it ain't in your eyesight, something that you can see, then don't go get all hyped about it. Ain't the police killed somebody down there in Houston, Texas. Man, you don't know nobody down there. You don't even know if they put that on TV, you know what I mean, to get people riled up and get them all hyped up, to move the people. That's what I'm saying, emotional intelligence. Ain't just about these books. You could know all these books. You could read a million books if you want. If you ain't emotionally intelligent with the real life stuff, you just a person that can just quote stuff. Quote what somebody said in the book. But you still get mad because somebody went in the store and somebody was called a racial slur or something. Man, who cares? Oh, they don't like niggas in there? Then don't go in there. Why, you know what I'm saying? Why go in there and spend your money? Just make sure, and then if you do it like, low, man, don't go in there, man. Don't spend that money on them people, man. They ain't shit in that junk. Simple as that. Why get all bent out of shape and all that? Because people stop going in there spending the money. They'll change. They'll act better. Common sense. But we've been duped. You go back prior to civil rights, our people owned everything. We had our own dry cleaning. We had our own restaurants. We had our own mechanic shop. We had everything we owned. We had our own schools. We was teaching our own kids. We had let them go to school, this school, and then, we still, all right, cool. And when your kids everybody was better back then. Because your own people, we was teaching our own kids in the schools. Then we thinking we've been duped into thinking going to these other places. Nah, that messed up the whole game. That messed the game up. You got people away from being entrepreneurs and owning businesses to going to school to get degrees to work for people. And then, getting away from having real trades. There's nothing wrong with having these degrees. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying to look at stuff from a different perspective and weigh it all up, and then weigh up where we went right and where we went wrong. Because the only thing we got to do is go back to what we was doing in the past. That's what I'm saying. Go back to what we was doing in the past. Go back even further back than that. Go back to what we was doing in the past. That's what's better. For the future to be better, we have to go back to what we was doing in the past. Even in religion, they say, the best way is the way of the people from the past. Do that. Inshallah. Peace.